Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a horror thriller film called Titan. Spoilers incoming. The movie begins with a young girl named Alexia sitting in the backseat humming loudly enough to drown the car music. Annoyed by the noise she's making, her father increases the music volume. Alexia competes and tries to hum louder, mimicking a car engine, but she's no match for the electronic device. It gets peaceful for a moment, but then, Alexia kicks the back of her father's seat. The father shouts at the young girl to stop her intolerable behavior. Instead, she unbuckles her seatbelt and looks at the back. In response, the father looks at the back seat and scolds Alexia to put her seatbelt on, but it causes the car to swerve and hit an obstacle. During the accident, Alexia bangs her head in the backseat window. Next, the doctors operate on the poor girl's head, replacing a part of her skull with a piece of titanium. The surgery is successful, and later, a doctor inspects Alexia before releasing her from the hospital. After out of the hospital, the first thing she does is run towards their car, get a feel of it, then kiss it. As if kissing an old lover after not seeing each other for a very long time. Years later, Alexia took part in a car show. Before entering the main venue, she ties her hair using a metallic chopstick. Hundreds of people are in the car meet, and girls dancing by the vehicle to attract more attention to the customized cars. She navigates her way into the scene and takes a brief stop to apply lipstick. Later, she finds her spot by a lowrider Cadillac with a true fire paint job. She does a great job exotic dancing with her badass haircut while wearing a golden latex two-piece on top of an attractive fishnet. After her performance, men gather, asking for her autograph, and it continues until the end of the car show. While walking towards her car, she notices a man following her. She runs into the safety of her car and is somewhat relieved that it's a fan asking for an autograph. She rolls down her window, and the fan apologizes, telling her that he waited hours just to get her signature. The fan stops her window from closing and asks for a kiss, to which he obliges. But the fan doesn't stop there. He tells Alexia that he is in love with her, grabs her face, and forces a kiss. To his surprise, Alexia kisses back, but it takes a dark turn when she catches the chopstick from her head and stabs the man in the ear, killing him. She then drags the dead body into the back seat. As she is about to take off, she discovers drools of mouth foam in her neck and goes back to the venue to take a shower. While taking a shower, she hears a loud bang and walks out of the shower room to check where the noise is coming from. To her surprise, she sees the same lowrider caddy, with the lights turned on with nobody around. It was as if the car was waiting for her. Alexia embraces the car and gets in. The lowrider hops aggressively. Turns out, Alexia has some bizarre fetish for automobiles and is pleasuring herself using the lowrider. The next day, she wakes up and notices bruises on her thighs. She then eats breakfast, and later her estranged father arrives. They completely ignore each other. Later at night, she meets up with a girl and makes out with her. After a rough encounter, she pukes by the seaside and notices her belly is bigger than usual, and when she reaches for her privy parts, she discovers car oil coming out of her. Later, she does a pregnancy test, and it turns out positive. Alexia tries to scrap the fetus using the same chopstick on her head that she uses as a hairpin. Due to the excruciating pain, she fails to abort the baby. Later, she meets up with the same girl at her place. While they lay, Alexia suddenly felt the urge to murder. Alexia stabs her in the face using the chopstick. Her victim tries to fight back, but she delivers the killing blow by impaling her by the ear. Afterward, a half-naked man who appears to be her housemate walks down the staircase. To get away from the crime, Alexia kills a man using a stool. Meanwhile, the half-naked man's partner runs up and locks herself in a room to avoid Alexia's murdering spree. As she goes up, an unsuspecting large man appears. Despite his large and intimidating physique, the guy was pretty sweet, but with no option, Alexia kills the man by stabbing him in the back. The woman hiding in the room takes the opportunity and makes her escape. Alexia catches up, but the woman makes it out after a brief struggle. Next, she makes it back to her home. She then starts a fire, planning to burn the house along with her parents. Alexia goes upstairs to her parents' room, grabs the door key, and locks them in. After the parricide, she hitches a ride and arrives in the city. She later discovers that she's wanted for the multiple murder and figures to that she takes the identity of Adrian, a boy who went missing 10 years ago to elude arrest. She cuts her hair short, bandages her breast and baby bump to appear like a man. To top it off, she bangs her face against the sink to disfigure her nose. Later, the police contact Vincent, a chief firefighter and the real Adrian's father. The police instruct Vincent to conduct a DNA test just to be sure, but as a father longing for his long-lost son, Vincent protests, stating that he recognizes his own son. He gets emotional after seeing Alexia, thinking that it was his actual son, Adrian. On the other hand, Alexia decides to play it out and pretend to be Adrian. On the way to Vincent's place, Alexia tries to run away and escape, but Vincent catches up and assures her that the safest place to be is with him. Thinking that she might have trauma due to the possible hardship she's gone through, Vincent tries to be understanding of her strange behavior of not speaking and consistently trying to run away. Alexia arrives in Adrian's actual room, where she tries to get comfortable by removing the bandage. When all of a sudden Vincent comes in. Fortunately, Alexia was able to turn her back from the door and prevent exposing her feminine parts. Next, Vincent is seen injecting steroids to keep his energy and robustness. Aside from his job, he does it since his body is slowly deteriorating due to old age. The following day, Vincent makes Alexia work for him as an apprentice firefighter. He cuts her hair and gives her a uniform. Vincent then introduces his son to the boys at the fire station. The boys didn't give her a warm welcome due to her odd appearance, but the chief, Vincent, comes to his son's rescue and puts the boys on a tight leash. Vincent eats dinner with Alexia. He somewhat gets frustrated on why she isn't speaking. Alexia tries to run away, but the door is locked. Annoyed, she pulls out the chopstick and decides to murder Vincent. But she changes her mind when she hears music and sees Vincent dancing. They dance together, but the bond is cut short when the joyous dancing turns into a brawl. The testosterone kicks in, and Vincent tries to provoke Alexia. In retaliation, she tries to stab him using the chopstick, but Vincent overpowers her, tells her to fight like a man, and asks why she always tries to leave. In the end, Vincent hands her the keys. Without a second thought, Alexia heads for the door. Lonely, Vincent tries to drown the loneliness with drugs, but he accidentally overdoses. Moments later, Alexia returns since she left the chopsticks and discovers an unconscious but breathing Vincent. She attempted to stab the old man but realized she couldn't do it. Given his pitiful state, she spoke to him for the first time. Having a change of heart, she decided to take the role of being his actual son. The next day, she goes through Adrian's things, sees a yellow dress, and decides to wear it. She then hears Vincent coming in, and with no time to take off the dress, she hides in the closet. Eventually, Vincent discovers her, but he is actually smiling instead of being weirded out. Turns out, the real Adrian used to wear the same dress years back, and he even happily shows her a picture. Vincent is convinced that his son is finally back. Subsequently, Vincent, along with Ryan and Alexia, responds to an emergency. As they arrive on the scene, an elderly woman explains that his son hasn't been responding. Vincent and Ryan try to revive the unconscious lad while Alexia comforts the elderly woman. The elderly woman passes out without warning, and he orders Alexia to revive the woman via CPR while Ryan calls for backup. On the way back to the station, Ryan sees the wanted poster, suspects that Alexia is the woman in the picture, and asks her where she really came from. In response, Alexia just smiled. Later that day, the firefighters dance the night away when Ryan confronts Vincent about his supposed son. Vincent tells Ryan to never speak about his son. The next day, Vincent's ex-wife came to visit after hearing that their son was finally found. After the ex-wife laid her eyes on Alexia, she immediately had her suspicions but played it out after seeing Vincent's affection for her. Soon, she discovers her fears were correct when she enters Adrian's room and sees Alexia's naked body. The ex-wife confronts her and decides not to spill the beans since she knows that Vincent is a good man and needs Alexia to heal. She asked Alexia to take good care of Vincent. Moments later, a forest fire erupts. Vincent and Ryan go in deep to check on possible survivors that need rescue. Alone with the fire chief, Ryan takes the opportunity to tell Vincent about the inconvenient truth that Alexia isn't his actual long-lost son. Vincent chooses to ignore Ryan and secretly finds a way to kill him. Vincent goes inside an abandoned camper and hands him an LPG tank. Ryan has second thoughts about carrying the tank since they are surrounded by fire, but he chooses to take it since he trusts Vincent. Then a large explosion. Ryan is killed in action. Eventually, Vincent sees Alexia's naked body, confirming that she wasn't his son, Adrian. But the truth is he had his suspicions. Vincent wasn't stupid, nor was he blind to not see the actual fact. He chooses to believe the lie and live in the fantasy that he found his long-lost son. He didn't care if she wasn't a boy or if she was actually Adrian. He needed her, and she needed him. He tells Alexia that he still considers her as his son no matter the situation. Later, the firefighters throw an exclusive party in the station. Alexia joins in the boys' rave, drunkenly dancing the night away. Suddenly, two firemen carry Alexia on top of a fire truck. At this point, everyone in attendance sees Alexia on top of the truck and cheers for her. The music changes to a piece of soft jazz music, to which Alexia dances lewdly. The men are confused and are weirded out by the performance. The mood dies down, and Vincent witnesses the performance but walks out immediately in shame. Vincent drowns himself in alcohol. He intentionally lights himself up on fire and tries to put it out when he feels the burning sensation. Meanwhile, Alexia suffers immense pain as if she's in labor. She goes to Vincent's room and lies by his stomach, seeking comfort. She then starts kissing Vincent, but he bails out as he sees Alexia as his son. The movie ends with Alexia vomiting black liquid and going into labor right after Vincent sprang out of bed when she tried to kiss him. Realizing the situation, Vincent immediately assists Alexia in giving birth. She instructs Alexia to push, and as she pushes, metallic lumps are seen within her stomach, and instead of blood pouring out from her, it's car grease. Vincent gets teary-eyed after the baby comes out. She wasn't responding, so Vincent tried to revive her via CPR. In the end, she dies and holds the newly born baby with the metallic spine in his arms. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.